And everybody's met Adam already, have they?
What was that?
Everybody's met Adam?
No. Hi, Adam.
Okay.
Steve.
Yeah, maybe we can just quickly go around the room and introduce ourselves to Adam. Maybe Adam, you go first, because then maybe that will give more context.
Yeah. Adam Gardner, my day job is an automation architect at Dynatrace, but I'm also involved in the Captain project as a Captain service maintainer. So I guess that's primarily why I'm here today.
Perfect. So Steve Taylor, I'm from the Deploy Hub. I was one of the original people that started the Ortelius project. So I have all the nuts and bolts in my head.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Sergio. I joined to Brad at the beginning, but I disappeared because was doing some delivery. I missed some people of my team leave, so it was a complete mess, a lot of work. Now I'm back. I'm changing my role, so hopefully I'm going to have more chance right now to stay, because right now I have a measurement about what I do, not just on doing delivery. So that's cool. I can even put my collaboration on Ortelius, like internal objectives and stuff we do in Red Hat. So Red Hat doing part of open source project is a good thing, and I recognize it. So that's good.
Cool. And then Emmett, do you want to go next?
No, you go next. I'll go last.
Everybody already knows me, so I don't really need to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Amit. I'm a DevOps consultant currently who works on the Kubernetes space, and I have been working on the Ortelius project for I think a few months now.
Yeah, and Emmett used to work for Timonos in my team as well, back in the day. So he's done a lot of work with Dynatrace and stuff as well. Yeah.
I thought I recognized the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So just to give you kind of a background. So this morning, my time, we had the another architecture meeting. In that architecture meeting has been focused on the service catalog part of the Ortelius project. In the service catalog, we're trying to capture information about like the CVEs, the licenses, dependency information, what the developer Slack channel, those type of things are what is part of that project that we have going on. That project, we've been building out about 5 or 6 new microservices for Ortelius. Ortelius is a traditional monolith, so the new code is being done in a Python fast API coding is the framework that we're using for the RESTful API calls. The back end is all Postgres, is where we persist all of the data. So the monolith and the microservices are connecting through basically ODBC connections to the Postgres database. So that's kind of the world of one project. And then Brad and Amit were willing to take on the GitOps world. One of the things that we're doing on that front is I'm trying to understand how Ortelius can help facilitate the GitOps configuration management and deployments of large microservice applications. We know that GitOps works pretty, relatively simple for a 5 to 20 type of microservice world, but when you get into the hundreds and a couple hundred microservices for an application, that the scaling of GitOps can be difficult. and it looks like Amit and Brad have they've been looking at Argo as one of the first GitOps projects that we can kind of work around. And it looks like they've come up with a couple neat solutions that we'll be able to work with through Ortelius. Just a quick high level concept. One of the things, because Ortelius has all these relationships between all the microservices and the concept of environments that will basically be able to interact with the Git repos, dealing with the manifest files, updating those, creating a PR. And then once that's been done by Ortelius, whatever the GitOps operator is, whether it's gonna be Argo or Weaveworks or whatever, will take over from there and actually do the deployment. Some of the things that we've been looking at is understanding when a deployment has been completed by the GitOps operator. So there's going to be some event handling on that side. And I'm trying to think if I missed anything else, Brad or Amit. Did I get it all?
Yep.
So that's kind of a quick high level. Now, I know, Adam, you've been on the Discord channel talking to Ukarsh about some of the events around Captain and stuff. So that will be something that we'll want to look at down the road as well. Ukarsh couldn't make it to this evening's meeting because he's in India, but he'll be in touch with you trying to figure out that process as well, what we need to do around cloud events. So that will kind of be like our service catalog. We're trying to wrap up in the next couple of weeks, get it out the door before KubeCon. GitOps is going to be, we're going to start some new development in that world. We're getting some of the, I would say, the infrastructure in place. So the event-driven around Captain will follow right behind that. I think should fit in kind of the high-level project planning timing of things.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's probably good timing too, because we can get Adam up to speed with Argo as well. So you said that you still want to learn some Argo as well, right, Adam?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will work quite nice, I think. Then we can do a spike on Captain and see. I'm also really interested in these cloud events as well, because I've starting to work with Captain. I've really seen the value of the standardization of the cloud events and how like next level that's going to be. So that's quite exciting, actually.
And one thing is, just so you all know, I work on the CDF events SIG. So in what they call the events vocabulary. So I've been involved on that side with like Andrea from, I think he's from IBM, basically the Tecton. They've put together a POC around some of the events, and also I believe Jenkins through the GSOC did some event pieces as well. So that's coming together on that front. So just I have my pulse on that, so I'll be able to bring what they got going there.
Yeah, that would be. I'd be very interested in maybe getting involved. Just even if I'm just observing it, would be. Does that say? Do you go on Discord or Slack or it's more of a sort of private thing?
It's a Slack one.
Okay.
Let me see if I have the Slack channel handy.
So if that's the same group, I think it is. Jürgen Berzelstoffer has done a POC with Tecton and Captain, and basically the guys there have written like a wrapper layer to interpret Tecton and Captain events and translate them into each other. So I think we're all talking about the same project here.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who's from. Let me see.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? Because yeah, I think when we talked to Andy and Jurgon the other day, the ability, I guess that's why you were saying that Kipling was built because of that reason. Instead of doing all these scripts to integrate different tools, if you standardize on the events, you can see how powerful that would be.
Yeah, there
That-
is, I can't think of the person's name. Their Slack handle is Solaboy.
Solid boy. Okay.
I can't think of who it is, but I believe they're from, I want to say if they're from Kepton. But there's
Doesn't ring a
Andrea.
bell.
Here, let me just share my screen real quick and you can kind of.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of that person.
So here's some of the people. Sawboy, Andrea, Matthias.
Alois is Alois is with us. He's with Dynatrace.
Yeah.
And Captain /
And then Eric. So that's so it's the SIG events under the CDF.
Okay. Cool.
So that's the one you want to get hooked up with.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
their repo, which they're doing some discussions under, is off of the CD Foundation. I think is SIG-events.
Yeah. Okay. Check it out
Is
later on.
yeah, they have a couple discussions going on there around some of the more complicated events. And
Mm.
like, for example, if you check in, somebody publishes a new version of a Python module, you want to get notified that they've done that, and then you want to then rebuild every single Docker image that consumes that Python module, so you can get it up to date, those type of things. So for example, somebody fixes a CVE in the Python module. Now I need to tell everybody in the whole world that it's out there and that they should go rebuild. And so, worldwide events is something that we need to figure out.
Mm.
Kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
that's
There's
pretty
all, the whole federated approach and things like that, but that's a separate topic.
Mm.
Yeah, worldwide events can also have a drawback though, right? So in case someone with malicious intent gets access to a worldwide event, that could pretty much update everybody's library with a change which nobody wants, right?
Yeah, and that's part of some of the discussions we're having is, are you going to listen for the event? Are you going to subscribe to listen? Or is it just going to get broadcast? Is there going to be some worldwide, way you can subscribe, the security, authentication, what happens if the event comes from a private repo versus a public repo? Those type of things when you transition across private public boundaries, how those events are handled. So it gets interesting really quick.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I'm very interested in it. And maybe do you want to update? You did a little bit of work on Argo events and that this last 2 weeks, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
so there are 3 parts to an Argo event. One is actually, give me a sec. Let me jump onto my PC. Hold on. Sorry.
No worries. So while he's getting set up there, Brad, are you set security wise for the Azure cluster to
almost?
Almost.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of work the last 2 weeks. I've made the code to make the AKS private, AKS cluster private. So I'm just setting up the jump box. So the kubectl will be like hidden from the world. And I've done all the networking. After Amit's done his after Amit shared, I'll share the work I've done as well. And
Okay.
yeah, I'll give an update on that. It's quite cool.
Cool. And what we'll probably want to do is in that world is put the captain control point as well.
Yeah, we've got I've done the code for that as well, so we can still deploy that with Argo. I've raised a ticket to give me a couple of things that I need to make that fully clean in Argo. And I'm probably going to do that this weekend, which will probably take 40 minutes to write the code for it.
Nice. You back up, Amit?
Yep. I'm just about to share my screen. Argo events has three parts, right? One is the sensor, the event bus, and event sources. So I have completed the setup for event sources and the event bus. It's pretty straightforward, and it is cluster level. So sources. So I've already set up an event source with GitHub. So there's a GitHub webhook. We basically listen on port 15,000. That goes and pushes it to an endpoint called OC GitHub events. I'm still working on setting up an ingress for the same because ideally you want it to be available to the external world depending on your situation. So sometimes if it's a GitHub event, it has to be available to external because GitHub is external to our environment.
Right.
And that's the URL I provided for it. Post that, you provide the API token, etc., using secrets. After that, you have an event bus. So an event source listens and then pushes that event into an event bus. An event bus is common for the entire namespace. You have to create individual event buses with the name of default. You can choose to have a different name, but then you have to reconfigure everything else as well.
Sorry, can we just slow down just a touch? It's a little bit fast for me to follow. So the first thing we showed that was the event source.
Yeah.
And that the event source, can you just go back to it?
Yeah. So an event source can be of multiple types. This is a GitHub webhook event source. This is just a webhook event source. And you can have loads, and there are thousands and thousands types of event source. So one of the places you can check is, yeah. So if you can see here, all these are types of event sources. So you have SNS, SQS, Azure events, Bitbucket, calendar, file, you name it, you have it, Kafka.
Yeah.
So awesome. I have created specifically a GitHub type because that's what currently we need, just a Git type. Or in future, if you all are not on GitHub specifically, so they support both GitHub and GitLab, but assuming someone is not on them, we would have to create a webhook type of event source. So it'll be a little bit more custom based on where the use case is and who's using it. But for right now, I was just catering to GitHub.
Yeah.
And once you create an event source, that pushes all your information from that event source when it gets triggered onto your event bus, which I've created here. So the event bus is common to any event source you create. It doesn't matter what event source you create. It's a stateful set. It sets up 3 respective pods for a specific namespace. And you don't need to really create multiple event buses. One event bus for multiple event sources is completely fine. And the third and last part comes event webhooks and event sensor. So this is the part which actually does the trigger or the work on your end source. So this part I've not completed. Well, I've written something, but it's not completed. I'm not tested it out. So this will be the final part, will actually make the change on your respective file, for example. So assume there was actually a use case which I was using where, let me just show you. I have a website and the website basically pushes data. Yeah, So the website, what it does is it creates its Docker file using Canicore, and then it pushes it out. But now that I pushed it out, I have a new GitHub SHA. Now this GitHub SHA is what I want to replace my current values.yaml with the new GitHub SHA. So ideally, this currently I'm doing a environment env substitution in order to push it out. So currently I'm using an environment substitution to push it out, but I want to replace this with event sources, where what event sources will do is event sources will listen to GitHub for a push. If there is a push on GitHub, then you basically trigger the event bus, and then the event source will actually make the change, which is this part. So currently I've done a git commit directly into this. So this I'll be migrating out to the GitHub, Argo events in order to ensure and test end-to-end the work which we have done.
And can you just go back to the last object that you had, the sensor?
Yeah.
So we're saying that the sensor will execute like a job almost, right?
Yeah.
And then let's say it's code, for example. Is this like a custom sensor, or it's a
This is a webhook sensor.
webhook sensor? And then you're saying that that webhook will have code that will go do your business.
Yes. So in this case, currently I've written a workflow trigger, but you can write other stuff. So I have to do some more research into the sensor part. But I'm more across event sources and event buses about what to do, how I can create them, etc.
Okay. So it looks like that's going to a Docker container with the entry point and parameters, etc.
Yeah. So you might have to use a shell script or other such options, but I'm not completely across the sensor part.
Yeah.
I've done across two bits.
Okay. And then
I wonder if we can write our own sensors.
Yes, you can.
I'd say so, yeah.
So even in event source, you can write custom event sources. So you don't need to just have that. You have the option of custom, and it's same with sensor. You can write custom sensors. The question is, if there is already pre-existing, ideally you hope that people are committing to the open project so that nobody has to rewrite stuff every few months. Yeah.
And is there lots of like examples of other people that have done obviously event sources you showed us and sensors as well? I guess you haven't got to that part,
Yeah, but it's all there. Sorry. So it's all there. Yeah? So you have examples of event sources, event bus, and sensors. So in sensors as well, you have all these different triggers. Okay. So SPS, SNS, Azure Events, Calendar, pretty much whatever event sources have been created for, people have created sensors for the same.
So we would probably have an Ortelius sensor then.
Yeah.
Based on what you want to do, yes. So you can utilize GitHub sensors at times, GitHub, GitLab as well. So because you all are just pushing changes to GitHub, right?
One of the things that we want to capture is when Argo has completed the deployment to the cluster, we want to report that back to Ortelius so it can log the completion. So that's one of them. And then the other one will be Ortelius interacting with GitHub to do PRs.
Yeah, so you're saying we need to store metadata as well as updating the repo.
I would say you'll need two event sources and sensors. The first one, event source, is for Argo events, which will be a webhook. So webhook will get triggered. Webhook event source will get triggered. And that also will trigger a webhook sensor within Ortelius, where it pushes to a particular endpoint. The second one will be a GitHub one, where Ortelius will trigger a webhook, but the sensor will make changes to GitHub.
Perfect. Okay, got it.
No, that's what I'm at least thinking in my head on a high level. Need to test it out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think we could do with a if I understand it, so the source is basically the input into Argo, and then the sensors the output effectively. So we'd need two for Captain. We'd need one so Captain can tell Argo about things, and we'd need one that triggers Captain from Argo. So we'd need a sensor, like a Captain sensor that could trigger any arbitrary sequence, a Captain sequence. Because what I'm then thinking, you can use the Captain has a way, once it receives an event, it'll just run whatever container. So that logic you were shown before, where you've got a script or a container running, that could move. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm still getting my head around it, but
yeah, it's very similar to Captain, isn't it? The events and everything.
It definitely sounds a bit like Captain. I can't say I'm across Captain completely, so maybe I need to catch up with Adam and you separately,
Definitely.
or go through your webinar the other day to better understand Captain.
Last night's webinar was really good, actually. I recommend, out of all of them, that one was, it was me asking these questions that were asked today. So
Sweet.
I'll send the link around as well. It's good.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
I just learned a lot right then, as always with your work.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you for looking into that.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
This will get done. The work which I'm doing will get done by the next sprint, next meeting which we have. I'm just trying to wrap my work around other stuff as well. Sorry.
I think we're coming quite close to actually having a solution, like a very like MVP type thing to play around with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the GitHub trigger, I guess the part which I'm creating is the second part where Ortelius will trigger GitHub. So what I'm working on currently is basically a change on the GitHub level. So that will be like Ortelius will trigger a GitHub event and push it out. So I'm working on the second part. So then I'll have to look at the first part where I'm getting webhooks, Argo triggering webhooks within Ortelius itself for the first portion of it to get all the data.
Right. And that's kind of the same thing. I think we'll be able to, if we can manage to make it overlap with a native Captain type of event as well, or a cloud event as part of that. We may need a transform process in there to transform the structure of the events, but I think that all the data should be there, and it's just gonna be a matter of basically reusing most of the code and just doing a little bit of transform functions in there. That's what my thought is right now.
So when you say transform function, you mean whatever output the webhook gives from Argo?
Right.
I did not completely. Okay.
Yeah. So Argo is going to give us a payload, and then that payload is going to be different than if Captain is going to be telling Ortelius something. The same event, but they're going to, let's say, let's just do deployment completed. Let's say Argo is going to send us the deployment completed event. It's going to have that payload is going to look the Argo way. Then let's say Captain's going to tell us that a deployment has been completed, but it was interacting with harness. For example, that deployment completed event coming from Captain will have the same data, but the payload format will be slightly different. So that's where we'll need to be able to respond from either world. Is when I'm talking about a transform process.
Yep.
And then vice versa, when deploy hub needs to go send an event, we'd like to standardize on the cloud events, but we may need to send a proprietary event to Argo and a proprietary event to Captain, for example.
Yeah, it might be something as simple as a webhook based on whether it's going to be exposed or not. Or if it is not, then it might start getting more complicated where we would have to create a custom event.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
where the event SIG is mostly is trying to figure out how to utilize cloud events and loosely use that as a standard.
Okay. When you say cloud events, I'm guessing you're talking about something else, right? I'm not completely clear about what is cloud event.
Yeah, cloud events. I'm trying to remember if it came out of Google or Adam. Do you remember where the originators are from cloud events? Which
no, but
project?
I'm just.
It's there's a CNCF project called, I believe it's under CNCF, is cloud events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cloudevents.io. Just having a look at the contributors now. Yeah, all sorts of people: Alibaba, Amazon, Google, IBM, everybody, Microsoft, Oracle, Red Hat, SAP.
Yeah.
Everybody's on here.
Yeah, so cloudevents.io looks like it is.
Yeah. It definitely looks like that. That is pretty much everything is mentioned here. Like Argo events, Tecton pipelines, everything is here. So yeah, I think you're
yeah, and I don't think, from what I understand, is it's a specification, but it's not like one of those that goes to one of the big organizations to be a standard. So it's kind of like a specification, but not a standard yet. I don't know if that makes sense. In that,
it makes sense,
how those worlds go. But it's worth. It's like you listed off. There's enough people that are involved in it that is pretty much a standard.
Yeah, I would definitely like command that we attend to that or adhere to that standard.
Yeah, I'll have to go through that because sorry, I'm not cross cloud.
Don't worry about it.
We can sit together. I'd be really interested to go over that as well.
Yep, sounds good.
It's
if any of you have any resources for cloud events, which is like walks you quickly through a YouTube video or something, please feel free to flick it over.
Yeah, I'll see if I can hunt something down.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I can go over the infrastructure side of things.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So very close. You'll see this is the this is called AKS baseline for multi-region. So we don't need multi-region at the moment, but if we can people see that? Hey, let me just
That's pretty good.
so if we look at the top, so this is a hub and spoke topology. So if you look at the top, that's one region. So we're using Azure Front Door as a layer 7 global load balancer. So with the new preview edition, I'm using that because then we don't need application gateway. So we can go straight into the load balancer. I've set up a private Kubernetes cluster for security as well. So with setting up more security, and this adds more complexity, but it's going to help us a lot in the future. It's better to do it right. So I have geo-replicated container registry. So if region 1 goes down, the other one we can fail over to. At the moment, the last piece of the puzzle I'm doing is getting the Azure Bastion service. So that will allow us to do the kubectl on the portal, which is quite cool. So essentially that's a service that has a VM that like a jump box, but it just makes it a little bit easier in the portal to do. It's like Google Cloud Shell and things
Okay.
where you can, yeah. But because we've done, so I've got all these net, this is the VNet that I've done. Each one of these is a subnet. And I've done VNet pairing with this in order for the jump box to talk to AKS, and then set up auto scaling, all the good stuff. So we can have, it's elastic as well. So that's almost done. And then if we want region 2, I've done the code where you just say, I want multi-region true, and then that will spin up on, see here, I've done my naming convention one. We're sort of calling this the DevOps cluster. We can change it if we want, but you'll have US East, and then if we want the other region, that can be, I think, Central, US Central, whatever it was. So that's, yeah, it's got all of the private links and everything. So only that it's done really well. So this is a really good document for that. And then when we start to get more fancy with multi-region, we simply press a button that will spin up the next region, and then we can have front door if we want. You know, we can use something else. Front door will then, we can specify the priority load, so we can either do 50% going to region 1, region 2. We can route traffic all to region 1, and also front door can work out what region the user is closest to, and then point them to that region.
Nice.
So one thing we'll need for front door as well is because we're going to use a custom domain, we'll have to do a CNAME record in the CD Foundations DNS.
Okay, just send me what you need, and I'll get it the ticket submitted.
Yeah, do you know what the domain name is that we use, or the subdomain that we're going to use?
We could, right now, I have a subdomain. We can pick whatever subdomain we want.
Okay, because I'll need to know that before, because in front door I have to say, tell me what domain you're going to use, and then that will give me the CNAME record for the front door, and then we have to add that to verify it for it to work.
Okay, and we'll probably need the IP address of the front door as well to pass over to the Linux Foundation.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that. I don't know if you get the.
Or is it just doing a CNAME redirect?
Yeah. So I can. How long do we have? We've got enough time. Let me quickly show you in my work subscription. So, because I got this working with Captain actually this week. So, I don't have my New Zealand number in. Sorry, I won't be able to show you today. But
no worries.
Yeah, I'll show you next time. But it'll essentially I'll be finished that, and then we'll have to think about the Helm file. You know, when we initially install Argo, because that's going to be private, we might have to do a bootstrap with the. Sorry, I just got to open the door for my wife. I'll talk at the same time. We might have to do some fancy stuff with bootstrapping the Argo cluster, and then that will create the ingress to be able to talk to the GitHub, because obviously it's a private. So we'll have to enable the ingress, and then Argo would be able to sync to GitHub, if that makes sense.
I don't think I'm completely clear. So this is a private cluster, right? So generally, how do you connect? Do you connect via the Bastion?
Correct. For only for like kubectl stuff. So essentially what I'm saying is we need to do the initial kubectl, to run like a Helm file, to install Argo, install Ingress. We don't need Cert Manager anymore because the front door will give us free managed certificates.
Okay.
And I've found that Cert Manager and external DNS, we won't need it in this case because once we go multi-region, it sort of gets more complicated because obviously if I was to say like Ortelius, yeah, if for me, because external DNS don't have a front door integration, it would only do one region at the moment, if that makes sense.
Oh,
I can show you later in more detail.
yeah.
But, yeah. So
I thought Frando had a common IP address for all the regions, right? And
It does.
Frando was managing it. So then technically,
let me
so
show you.
yeah.
So okay, actually, so what you need, right, is a CNAME record for your DNS will be here. You need a CNAME record pointing to front door,
Yeah.
and then you do all your host and path routes as well. So essentially, it's actually, yeah, when you do this multi-region, you give up a lot of good stuff as
So
it
how
gets
do you
more
get
complex.
how do you get individual URLs, or you don't?
So you can use as many custom host names as you want. So in front door, you specify the subdomain, domain. You know,
Okay, so that is done now within front door and not on
Exactly.
the DNS. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. Because, and this is stuff I'm working out as well that I'll show you, but it's almost not as good when you use front door because then all that logic comes here, which in Ortelius is almost a little bit easier because we don't have to keep emailing the Linux Foundation because we can manage it all in front door because we can use paths instead of host, and we can use the same host with different paths. Like one would be -captain, -argo, -x.
Okay. Yeah, because technically external DNS won't have an integration directly with front door to update DNSs within front door itself.
Correct. They don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Unless someone makes it, which I assume someone will make it one day, but I'm just saying, like, it seems like we will give up a little bit of that good stuff.
Good.
We can see what works and what doesn't, but if you do want multi-region, I mean, you can use Cloudflare as well. Maybe that changes, but working with what we've got at the moment is we've got Azure. If we use front door, then we don't need to use Cert Manager and external DNS. So technically we could use Helm file in the Bastion to install Argo and Nginx.
Yeah.
And then that would punch a hole to the cluster to sync to GitHub.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a discussion we can talk about with that. On our other cluster, we have that, remember how we have that other load balancer away from the ingress? So we can, it gets a bit complicated once you do private cluster, because then how do you whitelist GitHub? You know, generally companies like that have like 50 IPs that you have to whitelist, and it's very hard to, so we have to talk about the security within GitHub and Argo, because obviously you want to hide Argo away as well. So we can have a discussion about that. There's a little bit of things to work out.
Good.
And then I've found we will need a service mesh eventually as well. So I need to do a bit of upskilling to learn a bit more about that. That's down the future. We don't need it now, but I know that we will very soon need a service mesh for like the blue-green deployments and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Down the line, we need a service mesh. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Argo will do, if you use the, I'm trying to remember.
Rollouts.
Yeah, the rollouts. that will handle a lot of that for us.
Okay.
As part of that. So it won't, but I think down the road, a service mesh will make life easier down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too much for me to take on at the moment, because then we wouldn't achieve our goal, by going too crazy with service mesh. But definitely in maybe January, I'd like to start learning service mesh a bit more.
Yeah, I will be working on Linkerd soon, so maybe I'll pick that up
Nice.
later in the year.
But that's an update on the infra side. So yeah, front door's done, private APS cluster done, load balancer done, all networking done. Just now I have to do the VM to hook up to the Bastion that can talk to the AKS cluster.
Perfect.
So it's probably like maybe today I hope to finish this, and then we have a really, I realized by following this baseline, the implementations I've done before just weren't good enough. Like this is done properly, which is I'm really happy about, because it gives us with the hub and spoke topology as well, we can, as we add different apps, we simply add that new spoke with a new VNet, and we can do that per region as well. And then we can play around with Argo for different destination clusters and see how the complexities of multi-region work down the line as well. We don't need multi-region for modern, but this will this is set up so we don't have to do anything different to have multi-region down the line.
Perfect. Nice job. Looks good.
Yeah, thanks.
I know it's can be a complicated world really quick.
Yeah, but it's good. Like it's good to do things properly, because then we're not going back and saying shit, we should have done it this way. Or, yeah.
Especially on the Microsoft side, where you kind of get locked into some things and you can't move or rename things.
that's I'm a little bit concerned about front door, but at the end of the day, we can just simply change it. Like that's a good thing about all these little components. We just flip them out. Yeah. Because I wouldn't. Front door's not my favorite, but it works well in what we have today. So
yeah, and just let me know what you need from the CNAME perspective.
Sure.
I'll get that. They're usually pretty quick, a couple hours to get it turned around.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay.
And then just make up whatever subdomain names you want.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So
yeah, I'll talk to Emma about how we're going to do the load balancer and the ingress and with Argo, and we'll come up with the architecture, how that's going to work. It's a little bit complicated. It's not complicated, it's just there's lots of options, and what's the best security wise is the real question.
Right. Awesome. All right. Anything else? We got a few minutes here. Everything's looking good. Great job, everybody. It's pulling together. Just on the quick update on the service catalog, we ran into some issues and we're reworking some of the code, but that should be done hopefully by Monday, and then we're going to, and that'll be testing all the new microservices in the monolith together, just in like a test world. Just making sure all the Docker containers are running correctly. And then the next step is going to be updating the Helm files to make sure that they have the right ports and stuff like that. So and get those to deploy to a Kubernetes cluster through Helm. And then from there will be the next part of networking it all together. Whether we're going to use a service mesh or an Nginx for reverse proxy at that level. So we're progressing on the development side for all of that pretty well, and I think we're going to line up timing wise pretty close for where you guys are at. And then so once we have all the Helm files in place, then we can start plugging Argo in there to have it start deploying.
I might actually, if we still have like 5 minutes left, I might
Yeah.
actually show you a little bit about Captain. So we can do this as well, Adam, in the Ortelius cluster. So this is what Captain looks like. So Captain has a Helm service as well that can, deploy Helm charts and stuff. It has JMeter for performance testing, your remediation. This is the quality gate stuff as well. So we can do a bit of a show and tell once we start playing around with how the two work together as well.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. I think we're getting really close to pulling all these things together. It's going to be pretty slick when we get like Captain and Argo and Ortelius all hooked together, playing with each other. In dealing with the initial kind of issue, or not necessarily issue, but the initial concern where how do we scale this solution around hundreds of microservices needing to be deployed at different intervals at their own speed, and keeping track of all that.
And Emma, we'll show you this as well. You'll be very interested, I think.
Yeah.
Because it took me a while to figure out what Captain actually is, because until you start actually playing with it, you really truly realize how cool it actually is. Because there's only so many slides you can see. It's like, that's a shipyard file, that's a cool name, but I still quite don't know what it does. But then when you start doing it, you're like, oh, okay, this is really cool.
Yep. You got it very quickly, Brad. It took me about a year to figure it out, really figure it out, because it's the problem is it isn't just one thing. It's flexible, so it's hard to kind of just say this is what it is, because it's whatever you want to make it. Exactly. In that respect. So
and that's why it's so cool for Ortelius, because it's so flexible and open. We can sort of really leverage that to how we want to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with the quality gate stuff would be quite cool as well in this case.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about fancy feature flag type deployments with a service mesh. We can really get into some slick stuff down the road. But baby steps, everybody.
No, baby steps, definitely. But we're making very good baby steps. Like
I think so. I think we're making great progress.
We're toddlers now, so we're
no screaming.
Yeah, and Sergio,
no throwing a fit.
And Sergio, we'd like to catch up with you sometime to get a demo and customize as well, if you had time sometime.
Yeah, I'm going step to step. For example, tomorrow I just compromise with the guys, just doing like a walkthrough over GitOps and OpenShift. So after that, probably I'm going to ask to pick a topic. Probably is going to be like right now I'm trying to show up customize with the GitOps operator, because it's already integrated with Argo CD. So I'm more into like we're already working with Argo, so it's going to be more useful if we show how to use it integrated with Argo in the templates and application sets. So tomorrow I'm just going to do a walkthrough. So this is the operator, this is what we can do, maybe a simple example of how it works. And after that, I'm hoping that people say, okay, just pick one thing, because I don't want to compromise a big thing. I just want to go like pick a topic every week. And yeah, so everything I will do on this session in the morning, I'm going to bring in here to well, for me it's late late in the night to discuss with you, okay, with the team.
Awesome.
Are you doing videos?
I'm going to save the session, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, sweet. So maybe you could just drop us the link whenever you're done with it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we will add it in the Discord for by default on Discord, and well, then still we can work if we are going to save it on the channel or something.
Yeah, we can upload it to the Ortelius YouTube channel and put it on one of the playlists there. So
yeah, something like that. We're just starting, so
yeah,
we will. Yeah.
I think look out for Discord about the chat that we had with Captain last night as well. It was quite good.
Yeah, definitely. Keep the folks in India in the loop. I know they're just off time ways for this meeting. But if you just keep an eye on Discord for Ukarsh and I think Rum as well was interested.
Okay, perfect.
So
okay.
Awesome, everybody. Great job. It looks like things are pulling together really nice. So everybody just keep plugging away, and thank you so much. I think that what we're going to end up with is going to be something really slick at the end of the day here.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's going to solve some definite problems that exist out there.
Yeah, it's great because when you work at sort of organizations, you never get to really solve these like bleeding edge sort of innovative things. So it's great to be working on the open source and doing some cool stuff.
Alrighty. Anybody else have anything?
No, just sounds really good. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, welcome aboard. And
yeah, it's good to have you, Adam.
Just so to let you know, it may not work out time-wise for you folks, but we are starting the general Ortelius meetings. I think the next one will be either Monday or Tuesday. It'll end up being 8:30 Mountain Time in the States. I have to check the calendar which day it is, but those are starting back up, and the outreach meetings are starting back up. So we're trying to get everybody back from vacation and involved and stuff like that. So you'll see some emails and some pushes to get everybody back on board again from the summer breaks. So those are recorded as well. So you'll be able to watch those if you want to. So just to let you know that's going to be happening.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Sergio, we expect quite a show tomorrow. So
I was quiet because I'm preparing the environment. So sorry for that, but I just had this time on the morning for be prepared. So well, hope it's going to be a simple thing, but I hope it's going to be helpful for the team. Okay?
Yes, definitely. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody, or a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Cheers.